Welcome to the Mindset with Maco podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Maco. Join me each week as we delve into the transformative power of mindset and learn from successful business owners, influencers, and inspirational people who have changed their lives through the power of their mindset. All right, welcome everyone to the Mindset with Maco podcast. Today we have a very special guest. He is the owner of MJ Pianos in American Fork. He's also the exclusive dealer of Bechstein Pianos, a very prestigious European and German piano brand. He's the only exclusive dealer in Utah. He's also an incredible pianist as well, and close personal friend / neighbor.
That's right.
Welcome to the podcast, Matt Johnson.
Thank you. I'm super stoked to be here.
I'm glad you said yes. I knew you were going to say yes.
Yeah, I needed something to do this Friday morning, so I figured, might as well.
It worked out. Right? You know what I love about you, Matt?
What's that?
A lot of people don't know this, but you sold me my first grand piano.
I did. I remember that.
Yeah, it was about a year ago.
Yeah.
I had an upright acoustic piano before that, which did the trick for a few years, but I knew I was ready for an upgrade. Yeah. And as I was shopping pianos, I went to several different stores around the county, around the Utah and Salt Lake County. You were the only one that when I went in tried to close me same day, which for some people, and now let me backtrack a little to not make you sound like a pushy salesman. It was a very graceful and non-aggressive approach to a close.
It was an ask.
It was an ask. It was an invitation like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was just like, first off, no, I didn't do it on the spot.
You didn't.
You got me eventually. But I remember leaving the store and I told Kim, my wife, I was like, Matt tried to close me. First time I met you too. I was like, that guy tried to close me. I respect that. As a fellow salesperson, I respect that. I think there's too many salespeople out there that don't go for the close or don't go for the ask.
Yeah. Don't
ask for the business. And then things just kind of fizzle after that.
Well, I think closing and selling are two different arts, right? And a lot of salespeople are great salespeople, but then they rely on the prospect to close themselves a lot of the time. And that just does. Sometimes it happens.
Sure.
Right. But not all the time.
Sometimes they don't take the first step. And again, I feel like salespeople sometimes get a bad rap, like, oh, you're closing people. I kind of hate that word. I like asking better, I guess. Yeah. But you asked, like, are you ready to do this? And I was like, no, let me think about it. But I came back to you, and that wasn't the only reason I bought from you, but it was one of the top reasons where I was drawn to you.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you. And we've maintained, it's been I've known you for almost a year and a half now. We're coming up on that.
Yeah.
So it's been a good time.
Yeah. It's been a great time. So let's dive in. So everyone wants to get to know you. You are newer to the piano world as far as having a shop in Utah County.
That's right.
There's definitely a lot more established brands in there. So I kind of want to I want to know the whole story as far as like how you even got to that point. So what was growing up like? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
The whole story. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a Utah County native.
Okay.
I was born in the American Fork Hospital, lived in American Fork till I was about 19 years old. I will say this. I did move one time from upstairs to downstairs.
Okay. Big move.
That was huge.
That affect your life?
Massive. It did quite a bit. In a good way too. Is before I was just down the hall from my parents. And
right.
Now it's just down the stairs from my parents.
Big move.
So. And then, I served a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
That was my first time moving out. That was my first exposure to the real world, right?
Okay.
Out of Utah County.
Indonesia, how was that?
It was hot.
It was hot. I don't know anything about Indonesia, so.
That's all. That's basically all you need to know. It's hot. It's hot. It rains basically every day.
It's humid then too.
So, yeah, I think the worst area I was in, it was like a few days where, we're riding our bikes around wearing a shirt and a tie and long black pants. And it was 115 degrees outside and 100% humidity.
Wow. Okay.
So,
yeah. So that was a big life change for you then.
Quite.
Okay. So, okay. But in high school, did you go to AF High then?
Went to American Fork High School.
So you're a caveman?
Graduated in 2011. Okay. I am a caveman.
Caveman for life.
As a turn for life, man.
Did you play piano in High school?
So I'll just tell you my piano background. I took lessons, and this is the typical Utah story. I took lessons when I was a kid, and then I quit when I was a teenager. I fall into that mold for sure. So I started lessons when I was about 8 years old. Okay. And it was funny. I had zero interest in music before I turned 8 years old.
Really?
Zero. My parents were, and siblings, older siblings, I'm the youngest of 6, always not hounded me, but like, hey, are you going to learn to play piano? Because they're all musicians.
They all play music.
Yeah.
Okay.
To one degree or another.
Cool.
And I'm just like, no. I hate it. Don't want to do it. Like I didn't like it when my siblings would play the piano or my dad would play the guitar, or when we do family singing or singing in church. Like I would not participate. I refused.
It just wasn't appealing to you?
No.
Okay.
I don't know why. And something clicked right when I turned 8. I turned 8 in July 30th is my birthday. So right in the summertime. And then right after that, like the fall time, I started taking my first piano lesson from a woman named Sandra Stone in my neighborhood. And, excuse me, I really don't know what happened, but something clicked and I just gained interest and I began.
Was there some kind of maybe artist or musical influence that could have, you think, maybe caused that click?
I think maybe just the, not incessant, but the ever present, influence of music in my home from the members in my house. And also there's always music playing in the background. I was very exposed to it. So maybe it just finally took 8 years kind of
and just
incubated inside of me, and it kind of just came alive. And so I took lessons, and it was, I hated playing the stuff that I didn't like the lesson book material. Yeah. Right. And I just wanted to play the stuff that I wanted. Looking back, obviously, it's important to learn those things because they contain basic fundamentals.
Exactly.
Right? But I always tried to learn the hard stuff for recitals and stuff.
Yeah.
So when I turned 12, right, I was just about to go into junior high, I quit. I told my mom, I'm done. I'm too busy. Because 12-year-olds are just insanely busy. Right?
Life is very hectic during that time.
It's still the busiest time of my life looking back on it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Not like running a piano store. No, not at all. Even close. Or having 4 kids.
No. So that was, I quit, and I still every once in a while tinkered on the piano, but I did stick with music.
Okay. In what way?
7th grade happened, junior high, I followed in the footsteps of my sister Jessica, and I learned the French horn. So I played in the concert band in the junior high.
Gotcha.
And so that kept my passion for music still alive. And in 9th grade, I picked up the guitar. Okay. And then high school hit, I joined the American Fork High School Marching Band and played, I guess, the mellophone. It's kind of a marching French horn. It looks like a trumpet on steroids. Okay. That's what it looks like.
Cool.
So it's easier to run around a football field with that rather than a French horn. So
yeah. Are those heavy? They're like
heavier
big
than trumpets.
Oh yeah.
They're not heavier than like a baritone or a tuba.
Gotcha.
So, excuse me. But yeah, it gets tiring. You hold it up for, a 15-minute show and it gets tiring.
So why the French horn? Was, aside from your sister inspiring you, was there anything that...
It's the best brass instrument.
Why do you say that?
Because it sounds the best and they get all the coolest parts. If you listen to like Star Wars,
I was just thinking
Harry Potter, India, like they all get the coolest lines.
The main themes typically, right?
The main themes, just the main, like the soaring themes. It's elegant
and everyone's
and heavenly and sensational.
Yeah. And everything else is just kind of backing it up.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I can respect that.
So, I liked the warm tone. I liked that it could have a wide variety of ranges, whereas you have the trumpets kind of just a higher register. You have a tuba, it's the very low registered. I like being more versatile. Okay, you can play high and low stuff.
Right,
not quite as low as tuba or high as a trumpet, but I still had that
almost like a tenor in a choir.
Yeah. So
were you in the choir too, or did you sing at all?
I not in school.
No, just for fun.
But if someone asks me to sing in like a church choir or something, I usually sing bass.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I'm surprised by that. You don't seem to have that deep of a voice.
I have a hard time singing a high tenor.
Really? So. I was a tenor in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got I feel like a higher voice.
It's cute.
When I speak, it's girly, I guess you could say. A bass, really? Okay.
Yeah. I can sing fairly low. I don't know.
Okay.
We're not going to sing on this podcast. But,
I mean, you want to drop a little?
I don't.
Okay.
But thanks for asking.
Yeah. I mean, I got to ask, right? Okay. So you went from a string instrument to a brass instrument, then dabbled in some guitar.
Yeah.
But why do you think piano is the one that, because I'm assuming you don't play guitar or French horn nearly as much as you play piano anymore.
No, I haven't touched a French horn for years.
So what?
I play the guitar fairly often, just in my own home, and just kind of to wind down at night before going to bed. Right now, though, like for the past 6 months, I have been focusing mostly on piano.
Okay.
French horn. Last time I touched a French horn was for my grandmother's funeral in 2017. My cousin and I played a little French horn duet for her funeral. And that was fun picking, but I had to take a couple of private lessons first to kind of get back into gear. The last time before that was in 2011 at UVU's commencement graduation.
Oh, cool.
So because I played for a year at UVU as well, French horn.
Is that where you went to school?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Or just 1 year.
Just 1 year. So you quit after that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think every single person I've had on this podcast so far either didn't go to college, went to college and quit, but have gone on to do amazing things, which it's funny because like back when we were growing up, it was like you go to college or you're going to fail at life.
Or you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're going to get stuck at minimum wage till you're 60.
Yeah. You'll be flipping burgers, as they say, which I don't think there's any shame in flipping burgers if you flip burgers, by the way.
That's honest.
Flip a good burger. That's what it's my pet peeve. I was like,
JCWs.
But do it well. Like I nothing bugs me more than a job that isn't necessarily that difficult of a task, and then someone still chooses to do it poorly. It's like do whatever you're doing, do it at the best of your ability. Anyway,
so where are we at?
So
So college, there's so many ways to do it, and so many people find success. And looking back on it, I am very grateful for my college experience and for the things I learned. I'll just tell you real quick. I have a degree in Middle Eastern Studies and Arabic, which I know what you're thinking, Adrian, has everything to do with pianos, right? It has nothing to do with pianos.
No.
So looking back, I did not need to get a college degree. And even I spent tens of thousands of dollars on it and spent so much time on it. So financially and like as far as my business goes, I would be a lot farther ahead right now. But
you don't regret it.
There's no point in regretting it, right?
No.
There's no point in looking at it through a negative lens.
So did you not finish at UVU or what? Because you got a degree. Where did you get the degree?
I received my degree from BYU, Provo.
Okay.
I did a year at UVU before my 2-year mission, came back in 2014 and continued at UVU. I still didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Right.
At that point, actually, I did know I wanted to study Arabic, but UVU didn't have a program, so I was not a great student. I spent about two years at UVU trying to get my grades up to a point where BYU would actually accept me.
Look at
because
you.
It's a difficult school to get into.
Yeah.
As it turns out.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
And then I got my degree, and there we go. Here we are.
And
use it.
And then so you got your degree. You said that hasn't really served you a ton in your career. Have you used it at all? Have you talked to anyone that's only spoke Arabic, or it's kind of a dead language,
as far
right?
As, I mean, it's not super useful here in Utah.
Right.
I'll run into people every once in a while, and obviously with the connections that I made, and like I keep in touch with a lot of Arab speakers, native Arab speakers. I mean, Arabic is actually a very widely spoken language in the world, just not in Utah.
Just not in Utah.
So if ever I'm out of town, out of state, or in a different country, I try and hit up an Arab cuisine and an Arab restaurant.
That's cool.
I'll go in there. And
so you're still pretty good at it.
It's not as good as it was while I was actually in school, but I can still talk to someone, and I can still write it and read it and have a decent conversation with someone.
You can get by. Cool. So after college then, I mean, what was the next step after that? Did you go straight into the piano technician world, or what was your first job?
So my piano technician job world, career trajectory, whatever you want to call it, actually began when I was 18.
Oh, okay.
Right when I graduated high school in 2011.
Okay.
I was trying to do two things. I try to make money for two different things. One, for college,
right?
Because it's not cheap,
right?
And also for a mission for the church, which is also not cheap.
Yep.
Back then it was like $10,000, which $10,000 for 2 years is actually fairly not
cheap.
expensive.
Yeah.
Fairly cheap, considering, but for an 18-year-old who doesn't have any money,
it can be a
lot of money.
Yeah.
Looking for money to do both of those things, because I knew both of those things were things that I wanted to do. I had this epiphany one day, kind of the summer after I graduated. Looking for money. I knew I loved music, okay? And I knew I loved tools and working with my hands.
Okay.
Growing up, my piano was horrendously out of tune all the time. I always begged my parents to get it tuned.
Yeah.
And they never did. And it wasn't out of spite or anything like that. They just never got around to doing it.
Sure.
Right? They never were like, no, we're not going to do it. Hey, Mom, we need to tune the piano. Okay, we'll do it. And
we'll get it done.
Just never happened. You know?
Yeah.
I get it, because it's only one of those things that you think about when you're actually playing. It's just always in the back of your mind.
And it just bugs you.
Yeah. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to tune the family piano. I'm going to do it.
Your first job.
I committed. Okay.
Yeah.
It was my first. I committed, and I didn't know what I was doing or how I was going to make it work, but I knew I'd figure it out. So I just did some quick Google searches and researched, and I went to eBay back when that was the thing. Now it's all Amazon.
Now it's all Amazon. Yeah. They've taken over.
Brother Bezos and,
Brother Bezos.
So I bought myself, I spent, this is my initial investment. It was $40. Okay. On a basic tuning kit. So I bring it home. It comes to my house, and I tear the piano apart. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Is it an upright or a grand?
An upright.
Okay. So that's easier, right?
Not necessarily. No, it's actually harder. As far as like removing stuff off the piano, it's actually harder.
Oh, interesting.
There's more stuff to do, work around.
Didn't know that.
I take it apart. I watched a ton of YouTube videos. By the way, just in advance, I'll tell you, I've had more formal training since then, other than YouTube videos.
So it's nothing. We'll get into that.
I'm not a YouTube trained technician, at least not anymore. But still, I had no idea what I was doing. And it took me, I did tune the piano. It took me about 10 hours, and it still sounded like garbage.
Wow.
So
why?
I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing.
But now in hindsight, what was the issue?
I didn't know how to correctly adjust the pitch, because it was extremely flat. It was like 40, 50 cents or percent flat. It was basically halfway down to the next note beneath. So if you want to play middle C, it's almost sounded like you were playing B.
Gotcha.
So it was really flat.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know the proper like techniques with turning the tuning lever. And I should have brought a tuning lever to see what that looks like, to show people what it looks like. So I kept being persistent, though, which surprises me, because it was really hard. And I was scared to move on. But I've learned I have so many examples of when you face a fear head on and go to it and plow through it, there's always a miracle on the other side of it. Okay. And looking back on it, that miracle of pushing through that stupid 10-hour tuning has made me millions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. I love that, because often the natural thing for us to do is to give up when we face adversity.
Yeah.
Right. Especially like 10 hours as an 18-year-old. I would have been like, screw this, not doing it, paying the $150. I'm hiring someone.
So many other things, right?
Could be doing so many other things, but you decided like, I'm not going to let this defeat me, and I'm gonna push into it and lean into this adversity and find the miracle and the gift on the other side. Yeah,
and I've learned too, obviously, and I know you know this, but when you set your heart and your mind on something, doors open and paths open up. And I remember first time student at UVU, I took a class called Career and Major Exploration, because I still didn't know what I wanted to do long-term with my life.
Yeah.
If you would have told me as an 18, 19-year-old kid that I was going to be doing pianos for the rest of my life, I would just, there's no way. Right. So I took a class from Professor Doug Gardner there. I'm pretty sure he still teaches at UVU. But one of our first assignments was to do a job shadow. I was like, both of my brothers are in like computer science and like in tech stuff, and maybe I'll just shadow one of them, and that'll just be an easy A, right? I'll just text my brother real quick, say, hey, can I come watch you today for a couple hours? But something clicked in my head. I was like, why don't I shadow someone tune a piano? So I called around. I found a guy.
This was after you failed for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had probably spent a total of like maybe 15 hours on the project, just trying to refine it and get it good. And I went and watched a professional do it one time, and so many things clicked for me. It's like, oh, yes. That's
where I messed up.
That's what I did wrong. Ooh, I could have done that better, like the way that he's doing. So
interesting.
It was very eye-opening.
Okay.
But I know I learned a lot from that meeting, though, from that job shadow, because I tried to do it myself. I tried to figure it out myself, and I got pretty far. I figured out a lot of things, but then just watching the professional do it made so many things click for me. And from that point on, I'm so grateful for that assignment. From that point on, I retuned the piano, made it sound so much better. It was at the correct pitch. I was like, I could make some money doing this. So I did a few more practice pianos. I tuned some pianos for my siblings, for some close neighbors, close friends, family friends, aunts and uncles. And I probably had like 15 or 20 pianos under my belt. I was like, hey, I think I'm ready to start charging money.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you did that all for free just to get the practice and get the reps in.
Well, like I didn't want to charge someone money for something I wasn't confident.
Still trying to figure out.
And I guess that's, what do you call that? Imposter syndrome or something like that. But I still legitimately, I have no idea what I'm doing. I want to make it good enough where I feel confident to actually charge you money for it.
Yeah.
And over the first paid piano tuning I did was this lady walked up to, it was after church one day, and a woman in our ward, she came up to me and my mom, we were in the car, we were just about to leave the parking lot. She said, hey Matt, I heard you're starting to tune pianos. Do you want to come tune my daughter's piano? I was like, sure. Yeah, why not? She's like, hey, how much do you charge?
Uh-oh.
I said, I don't know. I hadn't done the market research yet. I didn't know
thought about it.
I hadn't, no. I knew people charged a lot of money, but I didn't feel confident at that time for charging as much as they did. Maybe I should have just done that. But she's like, how's $50 sound? And I was like,
she said that to you?
Yeah. Sure, that sounds great. $50 to an 18-year-old kid for one session of work is good money.
Not too shabby.
That time.
$50 an hour.
Yeah. So, it still took me probably 3 or 4 hours to get through a tuning. Now it takes me like 45 minutes.
Nice.
For just a regular basic tuning.
Right.
And that was my first paid gig.
Wow.
So
did that start kind of your trajectory into wanting to pursue a career in technician?
I started advertising on KSL and other places, just a lot of word of mouth referrals, just telling people, advertising on Facebook, just making myself known to the market that I was doing this now. And I tuned probably about 100 pianos before I left on my mission.
Gotcha. Okay.
But at that time, it was just tuning. There's so much more to piano technology than just tuning. There's repairs and regulation and cleaning them and voicing and.
Yeah, I've seen you clean a handful of them on your Instagram.
Yeah,
I was scrolling through them actually, and one that that made me laugh. Actually, you have a lot of likes on it.
Yeah.
Is your version of Claire de Lune of the upright that was just horribly out of tune.
Yeah, and
I thought that was a funny one.
That was a piano we just replaced the strings on it.
Oh,
and so none of them had been brought. They were making musical sounds, but it was zero in tune. Nothing was brought up to pitch or anything, so it sounded awful.
Right.
Yeah.
So you went on your mission. You came back, and then at that point, like, okay, I'm still going to do this piano technician thing.
I didn't really have a solid plan for that at all. It began maybe a week after I came home, and one of the only American companions I had, his mother asked me. I don't know how she knew, but she said, "Hey, are you still tuning pianos?" And I thought, I guess so. Why not?
But you hadn't tuned pianos for 2 years. Okay.
But I jumped right back into it. And here's the thing. God blessed us with an incredible brain. It's an amazing tool, really.
Yeah.
And so once you start doing something again, it does come back. Sometimes it takes longer than other times, depending on the extent of time or how submerged you were in it beforehand. But it does come back.
Oh, it does.
It just came right back to me.
I feel like I feel that when I play guitar, because I played guitar for 10 years,
Yeah.
but not so much anymore. But if I get a few hours of playing and I'm like, okay, things are starting to click again and come back, you know, my chops are coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. So then at what point, like, were you like, okay, like I'm going to start tuning pianos again? Like just after that job?
Right then and there. So I didn't keep a good record of the tunings that I had done before my mission.
Mm-hmm.
So I've obviously rectified that since then.
Right.
Fixed that problem.
You didn't have that at that time.
No. So I basically had to start from scratch again, but I was blessed. I had a lot of friends and all my siblings were extremely supportive of me and would kind of help me spread the words. Hey, my brother's tuning pianos, and then they'd give me good referrals.
That's awesome. So, but up until this point, you were still a YouTube trained technician, right?
YouTube and trial and error trained.
Okay, which can get you far, but I feel like could only get you so far. Right?
Yeah.
So when was your certification with Bechstein come into play?
That was much later. So here's what happened. So the piano stuff, that was always a side gig. I never had one job up until 2019. Never had just one job.
Okay.
Lots of little side hustles going on.
Okay.
Piano tuning at that point was just a side hustle. Okay. And it was just tuning. So 2014, tuning some pianos. 2015, I should have brought my metrics, but I tuned maybe 20 pianos in 2014.
Yeah.
Then maybe about 40 pianos in 2015.
Nice.
2016 comes, and it was at the end of 2016, I'd done maybe about 50 pianos that year. And whenever a repair, like something was broken on the piano, or something wasn't working right, I would just kind of jimmy rig it or somehow try and figure it out. But I didn't know what I was doing as far as repairs and regulation goes, which let me just define regulation real quick. That's kind of jargon word. Sorry.
Yeah.
Regulation is the process of going through all 88 keys on the piano and making sure that everything mechanically is working the way that the manufacturer wanted it to work.
Right.
So there's tons of little adjustable screws and springs and whatnot on the piano action. And if they're all working together perfectly in harmony, you'll get a good touch and you won't get any sticking notes or anything like that. But if one of those adjustable components, if the regulation is off, then you'll have some sticky notes, or it just won't feel as good.
Right.
Okay. So in this particular case, I was at a house in Orem, and there was a broken part, and I could see what the part was. I had no idea what it was called. So I took it out with some tweezers, and I could see that it was broken. I could see that the other ones around it were not broken. I knew that this was causing the note to not work correctly. And it was just driving the lady, my customer, it was driving her nuts.
Yeah.
She said, "Can you fix this?" I said, "Yes."
And you're like, "How? What did I just sign up for?"
I committed first, and then I figured it out later. Okay. And so I thought, oh boy, how do I do this? And the idea immediately came to me. Oh my gosh, I'll just go to the same guy that I shadowed 5 years before. He has a shop in Orem. His name's Brigham Larson. And I went to his shop. He didn't remember. I don't think he remembered me even. By going there, I was like, "Hey, do you have this piece? First of all, what is this piece called? Second of all, do you have an extra one?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is called a jack spring. Here, I'll just give you one." I was like, "Thank you."
Thanks, Brigham.
Yeah. So thank you. And thank you. I was about to leave, and he's like, "Do you want a job?"
No way.
I was like, "Yes." "What?" "Yeah." He's like, "We need a lot of help in the shop. And you seem to have a good amount of experience, or at least you can learn things quickly."
Ambition.
Yeah.
He saw your ambition.
I guess so.
And for those who don't know the piano world in Utah, Brigham Larson is a piano store owner in Orem off State Street who's been there for, you probably know how long.
Yeah.
Forever.
He's been working on pianos for 25 years now.
Yeah. He's a big presence.
He had a shop. So when I first shadowed him in 2011, he had a shop, a little tiny, at least compared to the place he has now, just a dinky little place across the railroad tracks in Pleasant Grove. Hard to find. And that's where I shadowed him and a couple of his employees too.
Yeah, that's where I bought my first upright piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good man, good family. And we're still good friends to this day. And back then in 2016, when he asked me if I wanted the job, this is at his new store in Orem, humongous place. It's awesome. And I said, sure. So I started like the next week, and that's where I got a foundation for all the regulation and the repairs and rebuilding pianos and stuff. I didn't learn everything there, but it gave me a really good foundation to continue building upon the tuning aspect of the piano world.
What an opportunity he gave you. That's totally incredible. I love that. I think one thing that I respect a lot of people who are highly successful in their career or whatever, or their industry, whatever they choose to do, is they reach down. Right. It's not just because you always talk about like, oh, like to progress and to be better, get in a room with people who are doing more than you. And that's how you'll grow. But I think as you grow and as you become successful, I would say you have a responsibility to reach down and help pull people up to that have, potential or ambition like you did and give them a shot.
Totally.
Because the only way either of us got to where we are in our lives is because people gave us shots. Yeah. So we got to give that back.
Absolutely. We should do both. We should surround ourselves with people who are both better than us or further along the trail than we are. But also, help those who...
Mentorship.
Yeah.
You have no idea how it could affect someone's life. And I've seen that in my industry too, where I mentor agents or whatever it may be. And I see where they are now. And it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's cool. And I don't take like the credit, like, oh, they're where they're at because of me. It's like, no, I was, but maybe I was the little door that opened.
They're where they're at because of their ambition and their willingness to ask you for help.
Right.
And your willingness to give it. And we just guide them. Right.
Yeah.
We don't actually do it for them.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And therein lies another principle. Okay. When you teach someone how to do something, you yourself become better in that thing.
100%. Yeah.
It's weird how that works, but you become more knowledgeable, more talented, more skilled in that thing that you're teaching someone else how to do something.
Totally. I completely agree.
Yeah.
So Brigham gave you a shot. And you said, let's do this.
And here's the funny thing. I worked there from December of 2016 till about March of 2017, only like 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And then, here's what happened. School was kicking my butt. Okay. It was killing me. I had to quit temporarily, and I came back in May and worked all throughout that summer. Okay. And I learned so many things here, just rebuilding and repairs and regulation, all that fun stuff. Then I went, Eliza, my wife, and at the time 1.5-year-old son, Oliver, we went to go live in the Middle East.
Wow.
Why not? Right. For my program.
Where in the Middle East?
Jordan. I'm on Jordan.
Oh, wow.
So we went to go study Arabic at a private Arabic institute there in Jordan. And we spent about 4 or so months there.
Wow.
It was awesome.
What's that like?
Amazing. We met some of the best people in the world. We ate some amazing food and just had some wonderful experiences. Gave me a great foundation for Arabic as well.
Right. So, what's the music scene out like? Is there?
I've got some videos, but they've got piano is basically non-existent. Okay. I saw 3 pianos there the whole time I was in Jordan. One was in the big international airport there. Yeah. But it was gated and covered up. No one was touching it.
Sure.
Okay. And then the other 2 were in LDS expat homes.
Who?
Expat. So people living, foreigners living in different countries who work like in the embassy or who are doing international business. They're Americans who are living in Jordan, who are members of the church.
And they had the pianos. That makes sense.
It's a huge cultural thing for church members,
yeah.
Especially here in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Utah's, I would argue, is just a huge piano hub.
Yeah. If you're going to start a piano store, Utah's a great place to do it.
Because everyone wants their kids to grow up and take piano lessons so they can play the hymns in church and on their missions and stuff.
Exactly.
Right? And so we spent about 4 months in Jordan, came back toward the end of Jordan. I was just itching to get back to work.
Yeah.
I was just so excited. And I contacted all of my repeat clients. So I was keeping records at this point. Yeah. Contacted all my repeat clients, and I set up a lot of appointments, and my January was booked out pretty good.
Nice.
And I came back, and I officially stopped working at Brigham Larson Pianos and just started doing my own thing.
Okay.
Under my own name.
Matt Johnson.
It is MJ's Piano Tuning.
MJ's.
And Repair.
Gotcha.
It's a mouthful.
Was that on a truck?
It was on the truck.
Nice.
It's been updated to it's more simple MJ pianos now.
Right.
So that brings in 2018. I'm still trying to finish up school, do the piano thing on the side. But at this point, it was my only job.
Right.
Okay. That was basically my only source of income. So I really had to push myself. And 2019 rolls around. This is my last year of school. I graduated in December of 2019. 2019 was an interesting year because I wandered into the basement of the old HVAC building at BYU, which is the Harrison Fine Arts Center, the music building.
Yeah.
And like the I think they do some theater stuff there as well. Walked in there. There's a little piano shop in the basement. I go down there. I was like, oh, I had no idea this thing was here.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, there's actually like 2 world-class piano technicians at the time who are working there, Keith Kopp and Rick Baldison. And they are just like kind of like legends in the industry, in the piano technician industry. I didn't really realize how big they were at the time. I walk in there, I was like, there's a piano shop here. And they're like, yep, sure is. Good observation. And I was like, do you guys need any help or anything? I've got some experience. And they were basically, nope, we're good.
I think we got it, man.
Yeah, we got it. And at this point I had a website and I was fairly well established, but I asked them, I was like, have you heard of MJ's piano tuning? And they're like, no.
Have you heard of us?
Well, they didn't even ask that, but they were just like, they were both looking at their computers and just like, no.
Yeah.
And just kind of not very paying a ton of attention to me. And I was like, okay, well, I guess they're set. So I walk out. The next day I get a phone call from Keith Kopp.
Wow.
He's like, this is Matt, right? I was like, yes. He's like, we did some research. We looked into you. And turns out you actually kind of know what you're doing.
Wow.
Usually they hire freshmen to help out in the piano shop. At this time I was a senior.
Gotcha.
Okay? This is my last year of college. And they train them and they take those 4 years. And by the end of the 4 years, they're really good to go.
What a compliment.
Yeah, it was. And they're like, we could actually use some help tuning all the pianos on BYU campus. And I thought, this is another huge break for me. So
yeah,
I accepted and I got mentorship from 2 of arguably the very best piano technicians in the entire world, especially in the United States.
Wow. So
that was really fun. Lots of tuning mentorship, again, regulation with, especially my experience with grand pianos on the regulation aspect was really lacking at this point. Rebuilding of grand pianos also was a weak point of mine, but they helped strengthen that for me. We rebuilt the Yamaha C7 from the 70s over there, and
wow.
And an old Baldwin as well. And
how long did you do that for then?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year. And then I graduated and I couldn't work there anymore.
Wow.
So graduated and then we moved into the house the very next day, Saratoga Springs, the one in Quail Hill.
Yeah.
And at that point I was just solo. No Keith Kopp and Rick Baldison, no Brigham Larson. It was just me. Just you. Yeah.
But then where in the story, because didn't you go to Germany for a little?
I did.
To get Bechstein certified, right?
I did.
Did that happen after that you got out of college then?
Yes.
Okay.
That happened after. That was about a year and a half ago.
What was that like?
More recent. So
how did that even happen? Yeah.
Right. Well, first of all, let me just explain something real quick first. There's a book I just read. It's called Killing Sacred Cows, written by a man named Garrett Gunderson. He's a Utah entrepreneur as well. Mm. And he talks about finding your soul purpose. My soul purpose, I went through an hours-long process to figure out what that is actually. My sole purpose is to help people discover their potential and develop their talent. Okay? When you use your sole purpose to make money, the possibilities are endless. Okay? Mm-hmm. There's always something else you can do. There's always something you can always build upon your foundation and expand and expand and expand, and the potential is limitless.
Right.
Okay? I was kind of at this point, I hadn't read the book, obviously.
Yeah.
This book kind of just clarified in my mind what I already knew,
Sure.
I guess, but I'm able to put words to it now.
What you were already doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was a point where I could only tune so many pianos in a day, in a month, in a year, right? There's only so many hours in a day. So I thought, how can I continue to expand? And ideas just come to you when you're in that growth mindset,
right,
rather than a fixed mindset.
Yep.
And I thought, oh my gosh, this is, again, in probably 2018 or 2019, it's like, we should open a piano store. I was telling my wife, and she's like, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And because, you know, being a piano technician, I know pianos inside and out better than virtually any salesperson out there.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And I dabbled in just trying to learn more about how I would go about doing that in 2018. I tried in 2018. And the conclusion I came to was two things. My understanding of the industry wasn't quite there. Number two, my financial situation wasn't quite there. This is one of those things I actually needed some good cash to put down.
Yeah, pianos are not cheap.
They're not cheap.
No.
So I tried again in 2020. Came to the same conclusion. I tried again later in 2020. In August of 2020, and this is when I actually reached out to C. Bechstein. Said, hey, I want to sell your pianos. I think they're awesome. And they basically told me no. Because I didn't have they told me that the best way to get into the industry was to befriend a local piano shop owner and basically inherit it when they're either retire or pass away. And I thought, that's not quick enough for me.
Yeah, that's going to take way too long.
It's going to take, well, they basically told me that the reason why they didn't want to bring me on as a dealer was because I just didn't have a presence in the industry.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I guess I don't.
Well, that makes sense.
I guess I don't. And they're like, you have no experience with super high-end luxury hand-built European instruments. Okay, you're right. Fine. 2021 rolls around. January 2021. Something, I'll call it God.
Yeah.
Hit me like a ton of bricks and was like, now is the time to do this. And so I was like, whoa, okay. So I reached back out to Bechstein again. I was still kind of in the discovery phase. At this point, I was doing like hours of research every single night. Like Eliza would go to bed. And I stay up till like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, watching YouTube videos, reading articles, scouring through piano forums on the internet, right?
Putting in the work, becoming an expert.
Exactly. I had to become an expert.
Yeah.
I had to at least give myself a foundation from which I could build upon.
So then you knew at least what to talk about with them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And I knew that Bechstein was one of my top pianos that I was wanting to consider.
What were the others?
I knew I wanted to do something German. There's a lot of really good German pianos out there. There's C. Bechstein, of course. Right. There's Grotrian. There's Blutner. There's August Forrester. There's Steingraber and Sons. Like there's a lot.
I love how you didn't say Steinway.
Steinway is an American piano.
Is it?
They have a factory in Germany.
I was going to say, I thought they had they have a German presence.
Here's the story. Heinrich Steinweg was German. He was he's from Germany. Okay. He started Steinway in 1853, the same year that Carl Bechstein started Bechstein. They were contemporaries.
Right.
I'm not sure if they knew each other or not. They probably knew of each other. I don't know if they were buddies or not. Not sure. I'll have to ask that later. But they had to have been contemporaries.
Yeah.
Living in Germany, right? Heinrich Steinweg moved to New York. I can't remember what year, but shortly after.
That's their main factory is in New York. Yeah.
So then he anglicized his name from Heinrich Steinweg to Henry Steinway. Okay. And so that's where their main headquarters was and is now as well. They actually do have a factory in Hamburg, Germany right now. Okay. So you could say that it's a German piano, but
Regardless, they weren't on your list.
No,
and they're one of the most popular piano brands in the world.
So, well, and part of that too was there's already a Steinway dealership here in Utah.
Right.
And they have exclusivity for
and there was not a Bechstein one. So that the market needed that. And you saw that.
Exactly. So I had this list of pianos that I wanted to try out and research and just learn every single thing about them that I could. I kept coming back to Bechstein though. I don't know what it was. So I called Bechstein again, talked to their CSO. His name's Rolf. Dr. Rolf, I'm ready to do this. I'm going to do it. And I presented to him a business plan. I wrote a business plan and told him how I'm going to do it. Not just that I am going to do it, but also how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. I got to ask him what changed for him too. Because from that point on, he was confident in me. And
I think it's the same thing that Brigham saw in you.
Yeah.
It was your ambition, your determination, and your, like, when you didn't give up when you first tuned your first piano for 10 hours.
Exactly.
It was your resilience.
So I'm really grateful that he saw that in me as this newbie to the industry, right? And he decided to take a chance on me.
Yeah.
And invited me to come to Germany. Now I traveled the country. I went to like California and Texas to try these other brands out just to solidify my Bechstein choice.
Sure.
Okay? But I remember coming to a dealership in California, a place called Kim's Piano. I sat down at a Bechstein A190, a 6'3" grand. I played it and I knew. I already knew before, but I really knew at this point that this is the piano that I wanted to represent here in Utah. So,
and I feel like they have such a history too. I did a little bit of research on Bechstein too before our interview, just so I could also know what I was talking about.
Good job.
It's got a lot of history as far as famous composers who have selected that instrument of choice, like Claude Debussy, Franz Liszt, Brahms. But then even new age, Elton John, the Beatles, very famous songs from their catalogs have been recorded on a C. Bechstein.
It has a rich history, a great story behind it. And people are always shocked when they come in, they haven't heard of Bechstein.
I hadn't until I met you.
And you end up buying a Bechstein product.
Yeah, Hoffman. Yeah.
So it, a rich history, a rich story, which is always just so fun to tell. We've got a picture of Claude Debussy in the store and a quote in his handwriting in French that says, essentially that all piano music should be written for the Bechstein. It's really cool when I share that with people. So like Clair de Lune and Arabesque and all a children's, all these cool songs that Debussy composed. This for the Bechstein.
Right.
That's the piano he had in mind when he was composing those songs.
Right.
So when someone plays Clair de Lune and I say, you know, that song was written for this piano, right? And they're like, no way, are you serious?
I love
it's
that.
cool. I always love telling people that.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
So you went to Germany.
Went to Germany in November of 2021.
Nice.
And I spent just over a week there and became a C. Bechstein concert trained technician.
I love that.
So it was awesome. Great. I worked with C. Bechstein's head concert technician. He basically worked with me for an entire week and we learned how to do some pretty cool stuff.
So then at that point was Bechstein then on board to letting you sell their pianos?
I had all their pianos on order and everything at that point.
Wow.
Even though I hadn't actually visited them in person yet. So I went there to Germany. This was a week before the store opened. Okay.
Wow.
To do that technical training, I also toured the factory and just got to know them better as a company, as a manufacturer, the individual people, like just, you know, the CSO, the CFO, the CEO, all their technicians, their social media people, their finance people. And it was just really cool to get to know them on an intimate, personal level, spending time with them and getting to know them.
Right. So what's your relationship like now with C. Bechstein?
It's great. If you look on like my postings on Instagram, they always like comment on my stuff.
I see that.
And interact with me. And the Rolf, the CSO, whenever he comes to the US, he always stops by and visits for a minute here. And he makes a special trip out to Salt Lake just to come and say hi. And
I love that.
He was just here a couple of weeks ago.
That's awesome.
And we've got a great relationship.
That's great.
I text their head technician often if I ever have a question about something, and we're on good terms.
So we've named a couple composers. I want to know a little bit more about your musical influences, and whether it's classical or not classical. Music obviously plays a big role in your life. So what influences do you have? Well,
first you mentioned music has played a huge role in my life, and it really has. It is my life. It's literally my livelihood. It's also where I met my wife. Eliza was in the marching band at American Fork.
Did she march too?
Yeah, she did. She played the flute.
Oh, all the cute girls played the flute.
All the cutest girls played the flute. So she was one of them. And we were that's kind of what sparked our relationship, was that mutual interest in music. And
I love that.
Band. So it's literally my entire life.
That's so cool.
Growing up, I was a 90s alternative rock music listener.
Me too.
Weezer, the best. Okay. Foo Fighters. Yes. Give me some Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Okay. And just Jimmy Eat World and Linkin Park and
say it again.
All this fun stuff.
That was who heavily influenced me.
Yeah.
That's the reason I picked up a guitar.
That's awesome.
Is because of Linkin Park's music. Yeah. I'm like, these guys.
Oh, I'll just tell you real quick. The first song that ever made me want to pick up a guitar was Patience by Guns N' Roses.
Why?
I loved it. It was just beautiful. I loved it so much. And I'm going to learn that on the guitar.
Right.
I'd never played the guitar before, but I heard that song and I'm like, I have to learn how to play this song. You should listen to it.
Isn't it cool how you hear something, especially at such a young age, and you have such a deep connection to it that you're like, I don't want to just hear this. I want to create this. I want to play this and do it. I want to do it, because playing music and listening to music are two different feelings.
You're right. There's a physiological difference when you're actually playing it yourself on a real acoustic instrument. Like the sound vibrations that come off of it, and just they enter your soul in a different way. Does that make sense?
I as a musician, that totally makes sense. I think it's hard to explain to people who don't play music.
Yeah, rather than just listening to it.
Listening to it, I would say, is a gift. Like, it's beautiful. Like, being able to listen to music is a blessing. There's people who can't hear, and I don't. People always ask me, like, would you rather go blind or would you rather go deaf? And I say blind. I would rather be blind, because I can't imagine a life without music. What would you pick?
No, you're right. I would choose to be blind if I had to pick one.
If you had to pick one.
There's just so much more I could do.
Yeah,
I agree. Experience if I were blind, I think.
Okay, so you got into the 90s, 2000s rock scene. That's where your musical passion started. What has it evolved to?
Well, and also kind of paralleling that with, as far as piano goes, I played a lot of, I loved listening to and playing like David Lanz, George Winston, just like kind of these new age contemporary pianists.
Yeah.
They were fun to learn their pieces. Okay.
Awesome.
Now what has it evolved into? I don't listen to much Weezer these days. I'll be honest. I don't.
Oh no.
No, I know.
I still listen to Linkin Park every single day.
Every day?
I'm not even kidding. Ask Kim.
Okay, I'll ask Kim. I'll have her verify that. Or I just don't do it.
That's okay.
Not that I'm not interested in it. It's just I'll tell you, there's two people I listen to a lot right now. One guy, his name is Tommy Emmanuel. Hands down the best acoustic guitar player in the entire world. I don't think you could debate me on it.
Okay.
It's not possible.
I'll have to look him up.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
The way that he expresses himself and becomes one with the instrument is awe-inspiring. And it gives me the feels.
You know who else I think falls into that category?
Who?
And I hope you agree. John Mayer.
I do agree.
Have you seen him rip a guitar? Like, he will make a guitar cry. Like, that's I've seen him live a few times too, and the way he connects to the instrument. And I think you can see that in other artists with their instrument, whatever it may be. When an artist is fully engulfed in their instrument and they are one, it's like, wow, you can see it, you can feel it, and it's incredible.
And you see all these people on YouTube who like either composing original music or doing covers, and like, it's good, and it's impressive. Like technically it's impressive, but I don't feel it, man. With 95% of it.
I can agree with that.
I don't. Tommy Emmanuel is one of the few who really I connect with on a deep level. I actually saw him live in, when was it? December? I think.
Nice.
December. It was so fun. It was the best.
Where at?
Just Park City.
Oh, nice.
Park City. There's a pianist by the name of Peter Bence. He's a Hungarian pianist who, exact same story. Just, he is one with the instrument, and his whole heart and soul, the emotions that he produces from the piano is really impressive.
Right.
I listen to a lot of that. Classical music is also something I've been really getting into over the past 2 years.
Just 2 years. You didn't like it as a kid?
Not a fan.
Really?
Before. No. And I think it was when I really started to research these fine hand-built European pianos. Quickly finding out that they're actually built mostly for classical music. Because I would say that the vast majority of people probably can't tell the difference between a $20,000 grand piano and a $100,000 grand piano.
I agree.
There are these really fine differences, fine nuances and subtleties that you can't get out of a $20,000 piano, that you can out of the more expensive instrument. And classical music demands
and they're
that.
The only music that demands that, in my opinion, is classical music.
Right.
Everything else you can get away with a basic Yamaha.
You're right.
Right?
You're right.
But classical music, the way music was written that way, the dynamics, the tones, the voicing, it has to be done on the right kind of instrument or you don't achieve the composer's vision.
I always tell people, and I might receive some flack for this, and I'm okay with that. Yamaha is a terrible classical instrument. It's bad. It's not good.
You see it on a lot of pop stages.
Oh yeah,
because it works.
It's a lively, powerful, bright instrument that is engaging, and it's I've tuned thousands of Yamahas. Yeah. I really like them. They're good, but they're just different. Okay, there's not a depth and a resonance and just a connection as you would find on a Bechstein or a Bosendorfer or a Fazioli or a Steinway.
Yeah.
Okay. They're finer instruments. They're subtle differences, but depending on who you ask, it's some are more major than others, but it's different.
Yeah. I find it interesting that you've only gotten into classical music the last few years. You think with such a background in piano technician and music in general, you played as a kid and everything. You didn't break into it. Why do you think a lot of people aren't into classical music or listen to classical music? You're probably one of very few friends that actually listens to classical music.
Yeah. It's funny. If you were to ask me as a 15-year-old kid, I would say boring. It's boring. But the opposite is true. It's totally opposite of boring. It's so complex and intrinsic but I don't know why I would call it boring as a 15-year-old kid or not exciting, because that's honestly how I felt, and that's how most people feel today. Maybe it's just because I gave it a chance and looked at it from a different perspective, that there is more depth to it than a Weezer song. I
think it helps to play an instrument, but I also don't think that's a requirement.
No,
because I know there's a lot of people who love and appreciate classical music, but do not play any kind of instrument. What I think is required to really appreciate classical music is a deep understanding of music, and how music was written back then. Because how music was written back then in the 18th century is so different than how it is today. Another thing is, minus opera, right? If you consider that classical, there's no voice. There's no person talking. There's no lyrics.
No.
One of the biggest reasons I love Linkin Park is because of their lyrics, poetry. There's so much impact and feel and depth in their lyrics. With classical music, these composers achieved these feelings and these movements with no words.
You have to strike a different chord.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
With no words, they were able to convey feelings of hope, pain, love, sadness. And it's just, but you have to have a deeper understanding of the music and be able to open up to the music. I feel like, so, interestingly enough, did you know classical music is actually the fastest growing genre?
That's cool.
In the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I actually have a little stat here.
New knowledge today.
So, classical music strikes a chord with modern creators. According to Epidemic Sound Study, the use of classical music has risen by over 90% worldwide on YouTube and by 64% on the Epidemic Sound platform, making it the fastest growing genre used by content creators in 2022.
That's really cool.
Right? Which I think is great because I also thought classical music was boring back in the day, but it wasn't until I started actually understanding music on a deeper level by playing it that, whoa, this is like a whole new world of music that I didn't even know really existed. I
wasn't really exposed to it much as a kid or teenager. You know what? That's a lie. I was exposed to it a ton.
At home.
Like at home, and we would play a lot of that stuff in symphonies and orchestras in high school and at UVU as well. And like, yeah, it was cool. But like, I was driving here earlier this morning. I was listening to a French horn concerto by Mozart. Dun, 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 dun. And I actually played it as a senior in high school for my solo ensemble competition thing. And I was like, yeah, it's a song. Back then I was like, yeah, it's a song and it's kind of fun. But like, I was getting into it on the drive here.
I love that.
It's awesome. It's amazing.
You know what the difference between a song and a piece is?
What?
I call them pieces.
Okay.
When some people call a classical piece a song, I'm like, it's not a song, it's a piece. The difference is there's no singing on it.
Okay.
A song has singing on it. A piece is just instrumental.
I like it.
That's my definition anyway.
I'm going to have to have to ruminate on that.
I'm going to come back with a counter.
I might, but for now I'll agree with you.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. I think classical music is something that, is not appreciated enough in our world or in our age. Yeah. I do think it is something kind of like, I know you don't drink wine, but it's like wine or beer. The first sip you take is like, oh, what is this? Right.
Yeah.
But then once you start exploring different types and places of the world or times when it was made, you get little different hints and your palate becomes more sophisticated.
Interesting.
Right.
Cool.
So yeah.
And going off of that, music. So there's spoken language, like there's thousands of spoken languages across the world, and you speak English and Spanish, right? Mm-hmm. And I speak multiple languages as well. I would honestly consider music a type of a language, an added language. Okay, you can convey, I think, in a lot of cases, the exact same emotions through music that you could through spoken language. Music has the power to uplift, edify, and strengthen your soul. It also has the power to degrade and bring you down.
Yeah.
There's some garbage out there, man. Do you agree?
I agree. I totally agree.
It just makes me feel gross.
Yeah.
So, but just the same way, like I can insult you in a spoken language and it'll make you feel bad, but music can make you feel things too, like big time.
I love that. It's almost like universal language because regardless of whether you can understand it either, you can feel it. First thing I think of is, again, I grew up listening to Linkin Park a lot, and my mom, therefore, grew up listening to Linkin Park a lot. There you go. My mom loves Linkin Park. She does not speak English though. Like she understands English okay, but she can't speak it. Definitely not fluent. But she has her favorite songs and she can feel the emotion in the singing or in the instruments. And it's incredible because language isn't a barrier in music.
Right.
It's really not. It's about how it makes you feel and the connection you feel to it.
Yeah. So that's why it's a huge component of my life. And I'm so grateful that I was able to, apply my sole purpose, right? Helping people discover their potential and develop their talents. And music plays so well into that, and be able to make a living on it.
I love that you've achieved that. I really do. And I look up to you in that sense because growing up, I wanted to do something with music. I wanted to go to school for music, do something with music. My dream job is I want to be a famous musician. I want to be in a rock band, right?
Yeah,
I want to play guitar in a rock band. And, you know, it kind of just fizzled into more of a hobby now.
Yeah.
It's still a big part of my life, but I love that you've been able to incorporate a career into music. That's just so special. Not a lot of people get to do that.
It's different too, like piano sales and piano service, right? Like if you think of a career in music, you do think of like a rock star or a composer or a performer, like a concert performer, or a producer, but you don't think very much about retail or home service, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely different. It's a niche, but I've made it work for me.
What are a few things that you've learned now being a piano store owner or being in the industry that maybe caught you by surprise or was something you didn't expect?
I love the challenge. Okay. It's a lot. And especially with like thoughts of like expansion, it's just a lot to take in. It is challenging, but that's part of why I love it. I remember when I was young, I would ask my dad what he liked about his work. And he thought, I like that I get to solve problems every day. And to my teenage brain, I was like, that sounds dumb, like boring. Like I want an easy job, man. I just want to sit there and do my work and go home and be done with the day, Yeah. But no, if I'm faced with a challenge that I don't know what to do and I'm forced to figure it out, it's so rewarding when you actually do figure it out.
Right.
Okay. That's one of the things that caught me by surprise was doing this whole, like, you have plans, right? There's an old saying that when man makes plans, God laughs. And I've been thrown so many stumbling blocks whilst trying to start this store. Yeah. But I've been able to overcome every single one of them. Or I'm in the process of overcoming them. And I know it'll work out.
I love that.
And it's so rewarding and so satisfying. So,
what advice would you give someone that wants to start a career in either a piano technician world or opening a piano store?
Go for it. Just not right next to me.
Just not an American fork, and you can't sell Bechstein.
That's right. That's right. Well, and this advice would go to not just, it's not exclusive to that industry. It's to anyone tinkering, sitting on the fence of starting their own business, whether it be real estate, whether it be music, whether it be laying concrete, right? Or putting up drywall. Do it. It's awesome. If it's for you, then do it. Right. There are pros and cons to owning your own business. For me, the pros far outweigh the cons. That's just me personally. But do it, and you will figure it out. And doors will open, and your mindset and your mind in general, your perspective will be ever expansive. That's how it works.
I love how simple that answer is. I've asked a few people on this show that same thing, and they all essentially said the same thing: is just go do it. Be vulnerable. It's scary, but you it's not if you'll fail, it's you will fail several times, but it's how you handle that failure, right? And I think so many people, they want to start something new. They have paralysis by analysis. They overthink it way too much. And I think planning and getting ready to go into something new is important. But at the same time, you've got to come to a point where you stop thinking and you start doing.
Yeah, exactly. It is all about action. And once you take action, right, it's faith, okay? Faith is believing in things, right, that you can't quite see right now, but you hope to see them in the future. But you have to take action to get there. Faith is a principle of action and then power.
I love that.
Then the power comes, okay? But you have to move your feet, or else the power won't come to you. You got to go get the power. It won't come to you.
No one's going to come save you, right?
It's like, hey, I want to have a cool red Tesla Model Y like Adrian does, but I can't sit in my driveway and wait for it to come up to me. I know they can drive by themselves, but it's not going to come to me, right?
No,
I have to go out there and get it, right?
You do.
Same thing with starting a business. And so many people approach this wall of fear, right? They're right here. And you have to plow through that. like I said before, you must consider that there's a miracle on the other side of that fear.
Right.
Every time. There has been for me.
I love that. I think it's also about the fact that you were certain and you knew what you wanted and you were passionate about what you wanted to do. No matter how many times you failed miserably, right? You were like, no, I'm going to figure out a way to fix this, persevere, and come out on top. Like, again, to go back to like when you tuned your first piano, 10 hours of basically wasted time. Not wasted, but you didn't achieve what you wanted to do, right? No. You didn't achieve what the task at hand was. When Bechstein rejected you first time and laughed at you, when the famous piano technicians at BYU laughed at you and basically said like, we don't have time for you, right? But like it all at the end worked out for you.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is because of luck. I don't think maybe a little bit of luck is something that is plays a little role, but I don't think luck will ever be enough to help you achieve your overall goal. It has to be persistency and a willingness to be okay to fail.
You're right. Persistence is the key. And I wouldn't necessarily call it luck. I mean, things happen to us, to entrepreneurs and people who are going out there and getting it done. Things happen to them that others might perceive or interpret as being lucky, right? Sure, I'm okay. They can call it that. I call it planned happenstance. Okay? You plan on good things happening, and it happens. Especially like I said, you're moving your feet, you're exercising faith, you move, and then the power happens. Doors open up that you never thought possible.
Isn't it funny how the people who put in the work are persistent? They're the ones who are perceived to be the lucky ones. Yeah. It's like, well, are they lucky or are they just extremely determined?
Yeah.
Right. Because at some point when you do something or pursue something over and over again, at one point you're going to achieve what you want to do.
I agree.
One way or another.
There you go.
Love it.
And it's just going to it just keeps getting better. Once you retain that mindset, that growth mindset, opportunities keep opening up.
And it bleeds into every aspect of your life too, not just business or career, right? And relationships and friendships, in your mental health and your physical health. So I love that. I totally agree. Yeah. So what's next for you? What's you're the store's doing well in American Fork. What's next for MJ Pianos?
Oh man, do I dare say this publicly?
I think I know what you're thinking.
It would be we are going to expand, open up new locations. We're probably thinking of starting in St. George. From there, hopefully expand to Las Vegas.
Nice.
We're just going to keep going. We're going to keep applying these principles that we've been talking about and continue expanding our mindsets. And it'll keep growing. We're tuning close to 120 pianos a month right now.
Wow.
That's only going to grow. And I know that we'll find the right people to do it. Again, based on the principles that we've been talking about, that's something I've always been scared of or hesitant. It's hard to find good people that are trustworthy and reliable. But like I said, when we're doing these principles that we're talking about, it happens.
Right.
It's just like the law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
It's just these good things happen to you. And tuning more pianos. We just started selling sheet music at our store.
Nice.
We're going to keep getting the Bechstein name out there. Right now, Bechstein is the top selling piano in Europe. They're killing Steinway and Yamaha and Kawai out there.
They don't have a big presence here though.
No, it's very rare here in the US. I'm basically the only dealer off of the coasts. Okay. And they have plans over the next couple of years to expand their dealer network here in the US, but I want to play a huge role in that.
I think you will play a huge role in that because you broke that barrier, and I think you're paving the way for a lot of other people who want to do what you're doing. Right. But I don't think it would have been possible. There had to be one person to start and get it done and get in with Bechstein.
Yeah, so. I agree. And problems are going to continue to arise and we're going to continue to solve them and make things happen.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I love how ambitious you are. I love everything you've done. I love the kind of man you are. And I wish you all the success. I can't wait to keep watching you grow and succeed.
And likewise too.
Yeah.
Likewise, you're also someone who exemplifies those character traits as well. So thank you so much for having me on the show and trusting my opinion enough,
of course,
to have me on your podcast.
I think we have great conversations. So I want the world to know your story, hear it, and hear us talk a little. So where can the people find you if they want to get a hold of you?
You can go to our social media. It's just at MJ Pianos. You can find us on Instagram, social media. You can stop by and come say hi in person at our store. We're located in American Fork, 920 East State Road in American Fork.
Google it.
You can just Google it.
MJ Pianos.
It'll take you there. MJ Pianos. By the way, as far as the name, if I knew that this would grow into something as big as it is today, I think I would have chosen a different name 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like just my initials. It's kind of dumb, but sometimes people come in and they're kind of disappointed that it's not Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan taking care of them. But hey, neither one of those individuals could tune your piano as well as I could.
Or I don't think play piano. Or I don't know.
Michael Jackson might play a little bit, but not anymore because he's not even here.
That's true.
So,
but
it's just my initials. I mean, my name is Matt Johnson. Two of the most common names ever. Had to spice things up somehow.
Up a little.
So, but yeah, you know what? Give me a call. 801-831-3074. Talk to me.
And if you see a red truck driving around and says MJ Pianos, that's Matt. Honk at him and say hi.
Hopefully I'm not doing anything illegal on the road.
Texting on your phone.
Hopefully I'm not texting or cutting you off or something like that. Picking my nose.
Hopefully not. Okay, Matt. Thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Mindset with Maco podcast, sponsored by Maco Real Estate LLC. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. And if you know someone with an amazing story to share, DM me on Instagram at AdrianMaco_Utah Realtor. Until next time, remember, if you want to change your life, you must first change your mindset.